A long time ago, about a century after the old War of Titans, a group of knights found spiritual enlightenment by means of the sword and the moon. These knights were initially from Drakengard, but soon split off on their own and became mercenaries who traveled the lands of Ezarion in search of greater purpose and greater opponents. A mere lifetime ago, these very knights' ancestors fought against the strongest foe any mortal could ask, the Titans. They feared that their lives would be uneventful, and would give no opportunity to live up to their parents' legacy, who would all but be legends surely for their achievement in life. One day, the leader of this group of knights laid to rest in a clearing, his travels filled with despair as his troop crossed the lands, only to have their blades dulled by bandits and hostile woodland beasts, with no great challenge or victory in sight. Though, as he laid there in that clearing, a spirit of the moon came down to him, and spoke of grandeur without combat, of purpose without a foe, with glory, and a deep peace with sword still in hand. The knight, Gideon, graciously accepted the spirit's offer. The spirit then had given Gideon instructions to bring a blueprint of a sword to a legendary blacksmith in Ezarion. Gideon asked the whole troop to come, but many instead went back home to Drakengard, declaring that to seek glory in this age of peace was meaningless. Their trek led them for a long journey through the mountains, where their already few numbers thinned. Legend says that this was due to battling dragons that lived to the mountain pass. However, the truth behind that remains a mystery. Eventually, with only several members of the group left, they found the legendary blacksmith, living inside a mountain stronghold beneath the ground. The smith was dwarven and old, having lived a full and successful life, but was nearing his end. With much persistence from Gideon, the smith agreed to live his final days forging the blade of the moon spirit. For 60 days and 60 nights, the dwarven smith worked on his sword, growing a deep appreciation for the design he was given, having seen nor forged anything like it before. The dwarven smith finished the blade on his last leg, having used the rest of his energy creating it. As the final hammer swing hit the blade, so did the final beat of his heart. Gideon approached the blade, after properly burying his dwarven friend, and took up the sword with one final task, to present it to the moon spirit during the lunar eclipse. The blade was made from a pale blue metal that shimmered in the moonlight magically, with a curved edge that mimicked the crescent moon. The handle and hilt were made of guy steel, a steel that was owned by this one and only dwarf. The pommel was a sapphire crystal, embedded into the guy steel and cut into a smooth and perfect sphere. He raised the expertly crafted blade to the sky during the eclipse, and the moon spirit came down, blessing the sword and sharpening it to a razor edge that would never dull. Additionally, the sword would charge a powerful attack during a duel to reward he who fought like the waves that the moon pushed and pulled. Gideon mastered this martial art in a week. During his practice in this new style of swordsmanship, Gideon learned a deep calm with his sword. While holding it, he simply felt at peace, like he was meant to be right there, where he was, like he was meant to hold the sword, like his journey wasn't for nothing. It filled him with confidence, and a sense of duty that he would then take home to Drakengard. It is said that on his return, he slew every dragon in the mountains for his comrades, but again, the story is not proven. By the time they got home, Gideon and his 7 dubbed themselves as Sword Saints, and their leader, the Full Moon Saint. Upon returning, they were greeted with chaos. The large portion of the knight group that had left Gideon returned home only to make their glory in overthrowing the kingdom, deciding they would break the peace in order to find their purpose. The 30 men had grown into 100, and from within Drakengard's walls started to tear down the hierarchy. With just 8 men, Gideon tore down the usurpers, mostly by himself with his powerful new technique and sword. The fighting lasted 2 weeks of guerrilla warfare before finally getting a surrender. Once everything returned to normal in Drakengard, the Sword Saints were given a temple near the city to further study the blade and to do the Moon Spirit's bidding. But the Moon Spirit soon returned to give Gideon a set of laws that the Saints would abide by truthfully, or be stripped of their status and kicked out of their temple. The rules were as follows. Number 1. A Saint must never seek power outside the teachings of the Full Moon Saint or Spirit. Number 2. A Saint must never wield magic. Period. Number 3. A Saint must never discard their weapon. Number 4. A Saint must never draw his sword in anger or with ill intent. Number 5. A Saint may challenge the Full Moon Saint for their position via an honorable duel to the death. These rules were law amongst the Saints, and if the Full Moon Saint were to ever break one, it is said that he would be consumed by the spirits of the moon and tormented. However, this has not been proven, as no saint has yet to break the rules. One day, Gideon was approached by a student named Anastasia, a woman who followed the teachings very personally and considered Gideon one of her best friends. She challenged him for the mantle of the Full Moon Saint, and won. It is unknown if it was due to hesitance from Gideon or her skill alone, but after she killed her master and friend, she learned of the second power that the powerful Crescent Moon sword held. And if you want to know what that power is, I suppose you'll just have to find the sword yourself. Hey there, travelers! Thanks for watching the first lore video for Ezarion. This tale came a little bit out of nowhere, but was the one I found easiest to write. This story comes with a new dungeon as well, so be sure to check the NPC Gil Fishbones for the location, the Moon Temple. Tell me what you guys thought, and I'll see you next time.